Good morning, students. Today is June 3rd, and our lesson for today is about developing our characters in our narrative writing. Please pay attention to this lesson so you know how to add character development to your narrative. We have started our narrative, and you might have finished your narrative. You also might only be part of the way through your narrative. Either way, you can use this lesson to go back and revise or to continue writing while using this lesson. One simple way to add to add character development to your essay is to add dialogue. Here's our objective for today. We will revise our drafts to include character description, character feelings, and character dialogue. This goes back to the beginning of the year when we were studying narrative writing, and we looked for all of these things in the writing of other authors. So you'll remember that we read the story Smoky Night by Eve Bunting, where we looked at the character with the cat and the fire. We also read the story Monkey Man, where we also looked at the characters and how they made difficult decisions and learned lessons about loving where they lived, appreciating people in their life, and remaining loyal. You want your characters to do something for your story as well. So, here are some tips when you're writing about characters and you're telling how characters in your story feel. You can pretend that you can use some strategies in your real life. So when you're around people, you can eavesdrop, or I like to call it people watch. And you might notice something that someone does that you would like your character in your story to do. So I'll be very honest with you. When I was writing my story about Sumi and Hassan, I actually used my roommate at the time as my inspiration, because she Sumi, my character, was modeled a little off of my roommate and how she interacted. You can also pretend that your characters are real people. I did this too. Sumi is like a real person to me, and I really developed her ideas of the world and how she interacts with the world because I feel like she's real, even though she's just made up. You can also pretend that you are the character and talk to yourself. That's always fun. Here's my example. So I tried to add, like the objective said, descriptions of my character Sumi, feelings that she was feeling, and dialogue. I wrote in the third person, but my third person is like they know everything, so they can tell you her feeling. If you were writing like you are the character, it's even easier to do this part about feelings. So while I'm reading my example, I want you to look for ways that I describe the character, ways that I tell how my character's feeling, and things that my character says. Hassan easily spotted Sumi. The sun was shining on her. He was impressed by her beauty, so here's some of my description. And his luck in finding such a lovely wife. He knew it was a little late, but his last rickshaw passenger had insisted on going to a distant suburb, and Hassan had been delayed. Sumi looked worried. But he would explain it to her, and they would try to enjoy the ride home for Eid, where his family waited for them. He knew his mom would not be pleased if they were late. When he walked up to her, Sumi began to feel her emotions bubbling up her body like soda before it explodes. She realized she must speak. She must. So I'm telling you what my character looks like. She's beautiful. Her husband thinks she's beautiful. She also does look a little worried because her husband is late. And she's feeling some sort of maybe excitement or maybe it's anxiety because it says that her emotions are bubbling up. We're not quite sure if it's a good emotion or not. I'm also showing myself using my character to show my conflict.
Did you update the needs? Did they update the needs?
Yes.
Nice.
Here's where I start to use some dialogue. Hassan, I have something to tell you, she stated quietly. Yes, Sumi? I'm using this resource here that says "said is dead" to find some better words to use for my dialogue. I want to go to college, she stammered, blushing fiercely. It is my dream. I love my studies and I want to become a nurse. Please tell me you and your family will let me do that. Hassan was stunned. He was caught by surprise and his face showed it. So now I'm describing Hassan. But Sumi, I will make enough money for us and our children. In my family, the women do not go to college. It is just a distraction from the duties at home and at the temple, Hassan commanded. You'll see, you won't have time for college, he laughed. Come on, we need to get on the train, he dictated. So in my narrative, I'm developing my characters by describing them, describing their feelings, and using dialogue. You saw little boxes pop up as I was putting in the dialogue. That's because I used this resource that's linked here. This resource shows me different ways of saying said, and it categorizes them by how you would say them. So I will put the link to this in the chat of the Google Meet, and I would recommend using this when you're adding dialogue for your characters. So without any further ado, you are going to go back to your narrative and continue drafting or go back and revise. While you're doing either, I want you to make sure you are describing your characters, describing how they feel, and using dialogue. Good luck.